Princess Sorellen stood on the balcony of the tall crystal palace. Below her, the city of Thalar sparkled with lights. The sky was a deep blue, but the stars were different from the stars on Earth. This was her home planet, and soon humans from a distant world would arrive here. The Thalorians and humans had been enemies for many years. Wars had been fought between their worlds, but now the leaders wanted peace. A peace summit would begin soon, and Sorellen was to represent her people. She wore a silver dress that shimmered like water. Her long blue hair flowed in the soft wind. She felt nervous. She had heard many stories about humans, that they were wild, loud, and dangerous. But she had never met one. A small alarm rang softly. Sorellen turned and walked inside to the meeting. Hall, her father, the High King of Thalor, sat at the head of the long table. Around him were important council members. All looked serious. The door opened. 2 guards announced the arrival of the human delegation. The humans entered. They looked different from the Thalorians. Their skin was a light color, their hair different shades of brown and black. Their eyes were round and curious. Sorellen watched quietly. At the front of the group stood a man. He was tall and strong, with sharp eyes and calm manners. His name was Commander Raylan Ward. He bowed slightly to the king and then to Sorellen. She felt a strange feeling when he looked at her as if he knew her, but she did not know him. The meeting began. Words were spoken about peace and friendship. But Sorellen's mind was elsewhere. She kept looking at our Y-land. Suddenly, Raylan spoke a phrase in the Thalorian language. It was a very old and sacred phrase, one that only a true royal mate would. No, everyone stopped. The room fell silent. Sorellen's heart beat fast. How did he know this? Raylan smiled gently and said, I learned it long ago. Sorellen's eyes widened. That phrase was part of the bonding vow, a promise made only by the royal maid of the princess. She wanted to ask him more. But the king cleared his throat and said, Let us continue. After the meeting, Sorellen asked her trusted advisor, Marek, about the phrase. Marek looked serious. Only the princess's true mate would know that. It is very strange. She decided she must learn more about Raylan. That night, she could not sleep. She thought about the man and the strange phrase. She closed her eyes and saw a vision, a beautiful ceremony under the twin moons, 2 people joined by light and stars. She shook her head. Was it real or just her wish? The next day, Sorellen watched Raylan closely. He spoke quietly with the other humans, but when he looked at her, he seemed to remember something. Sometimes a small smile would touch his lips, as if he was hiding a secret. During a visit to the palace gardens, Sorellen found herself alone with Raylan. The garden was full of glowing flowers that shone softly under the sun. She walked up to him and said, Commander, why do you know the bonding vow? No human has ever learned it. Raylan looked surprised but calm. There are things I remember, and things I do not, he said. I have felt connected to your world, to you. For a long time, Sorellen looked into his eyes. They were warm and honest. She felt a strange pull in her heart. Suddenly Raylan said softly, You once called me Rayler. It was your special name for me. Sorellen stepped back. How do you know that name? No one else should. Raylan did not answer. Instead, he looked away and said, I wish I could remember everything. Sorellen's mind raced. Was this the same man she had once promised her heart to? The man lost in the past war? She did not know, but she decided to find out. Over the next days, Sorellen searched ancient records and secret memories hidden deep inside the palace. She learned of a sacred ceremony, a bonding ritual that had taken place many years ago. The princess had promised her life to a brave warrior, but the warrior had disappeared in battle, and his name was erased from history. Her heart ached at the thought. Could Raylan be that warrior? Meanwhile, Raylan had strange dreams. He saw blue skies and heard a soft voice calling his name, Sorellen. The dreams felt real, like memories buried deep inside him. One day, the humans invited Sorellen to visit their ship. It was unlike anything she had seen. The walls were smooth and cold, but inside it was warm and full of light. Raylan showed her around. He pointed to a star chart on the wall and said, "This is Earth, my home. But I have never forgotten this place, your world." Sorellen felt the distance between their two worlds suddenly seem smaller. As they talked, a message came through the palace channels. It warned of a group that wanted to stop the peace talks. They did not want humans and Thalorians to be friends. Sorellen and Raylan knew danger was near, but their thoughts were on each other. One evening, Sorellen walked alone under the twin moons. She thought about the man who might be her lost husband. She touched her heart and whispered, "If you are real, find me." Far away, Raylan looked at the stars and whispered back, "I will." The stars above twinkled as if they knew a secret, a promise waiting to be kept. Princess Sorellen sat in the quiet room filled with glowing blue lights. Around her were large floating screens showing old records and images. She had spent many hours here looking for answers. She wanted to know the truth about the man called Det. Raylan. The records told a strange story. Many years ago, before the wars, the Thalorians and humans had made a secret plan to bring peace. They chose one human warrior to come to Thalar and join in a special ceremony with a princess. This ceremony was called the bonding ritual. Sorellen's eyes widened as she read the words. She remembered nothing of this, but the story said the princess had promised her life to the human warrior. The warrior's name was erased from the records, hidden to protect the peace. Her heart beat fast. Could Raylan be this man? Sorellen reached for a small device. She touched it, and a soft voice began to tell the story in her own language. In a time of war and fear, the bond of two souls could create peace that no weapon could break, the voice said. The warrior and the princess joined their spirits, sharing a promise that would last forever. Sorellen closed her eyes. She felt a warmth inside her chest. At that moment, the door opened. Marek, her advisor, stepped in. "You have been here." "For hours," he said softly. "What have you found?" Sorellen looked at him. There was a secret ceremony. A bond between a princess and a human warrior. Marek nodded slowly. Yes. It was hidden after the war began. The leaders did not want anyone to know. "But why erase his name?" Sorellen asked. "If it was for peace, why hide it?" Marek sighed. "Because some feared the truth would cause trouble." The warrior disappeared. Some say he died. Others say something worse. Sorellen's mind was full of questions. She knew one thing. She had to find the truth, even if it was painful. Later, in the palace archives, Sorellen found a small, dusty box. Inside was a thin, glowing crystal. It was a memory shard, a device that could show lost memories. Sorellen held the shard carefully. She wished she could see what was inside. She found Raylan and called him to the archives. When Raylan arrived, Adeline showed him the shard. "This might help you remember," she said. Raylan took the shard with trembling hands. He placed it in a small machine. Suddenly, images appeared in the air, flashes of light, faces, places he did not fully understand. He saw a blue sky that was not Earth, tall towers made of crystal, and a soft voice whispering Raylan gasped. The name felt like a key opening a locked door inside his mind. Sorellen watched him carefully. "Do you remember anything?" Raylan shook his head. "Only pieces, like dreams, but they feel real." Sorellen smiled gently. "We will find the rest together." Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a Thalorian historian named Lyra was studying old texts. She was curious about the humans and the secret ceremony. One evening, Raylan visited her. He wanted to know more about Thalorian. Culture Lyra showed him an old song, sung only during the bonding ritual. As Raylan listened, tears came to his eyes. The song felt like it was inside him, his own heart singing. "Why do I feel this way?" he asked. Lyra looked at him kindly. "Because some bonds go beyond time and memory." Back at the palace, Sorellen and Raylan spent many hours talking. They shared stories of their worlds and their hopes for peace. Sorellen told him about her childhood. Growing up in the crystal halls of Thalor, Raylan told her about Earth, the blue planet of water and sky. One day, Saralan took Raylan to the palace gardens again. The glowing flowers bloomed softly in the sunlight. She said, "There is a place where the bonding ritual was first held, an ancient temple beneath the city." Raylan's eyes lit up. "Will you take me there?" Saralan nodded. "Yes. Want you to see it? Maybe it will help you remember." Together, they traveled down winding staircases into the deep temple. The walls were covered with ancient carvings and glowing symbols. At the center of the temple was an altar, made of crystal and light. Saralan placed her hand on the altar. The room began to hum softly. Raylan stepped forward. When he touched the altar, a bright light surrounded him. Suddenly, memories flooded his mind. A ceremony under the twin moons, a promise made in light, a warm hand holding his own. He saw Saralan's face, young and smiling, as they spoke their vows. Tears streamed down Raylan's cheeks. "I remember now. I remember you." Saralan reached out and took his hand. "I never forgot." At that moment, the temple's lights formed words in the air. "The bond is eternal. Their hearts beat as one." But outside the temple, danger was growing. A group of Thalorian nobles opposed the peace talks. They feared that the humans would take control of their world. They planned to stop the summit and break the fragile hope between the two species. Saralan and Raylan knew they had to be careful. They could not show weakness. But now they had something stronger than fear, a bond that no one could break. That night, Saralan and Raylan stood under the stars. The twin moons shone bright. Raylan said quietly, "I feel like I have come home." Saralan smiled. "You have. Together we will make peace." The stars above watched silently, knowing a new story was beginning. One of hope, love, and the power of two worlds joined as one. The secret temple's light faded, leaving Saralan and Raylan in quiet darkness. Yet their hearts were filled with new hope. Raylan now remembered more of his past than ever before, but many questions remained. "We must tell the king," Saralan said softly. Raylan nodded. "Deserves to know the truth." The next morning they entered the grand throne room. The High King of Thalor sat on his crystal throne. His eyes were sharp but tired. Saralan stepped forward and said, "Father, I have found the truth about Raylan. He is the warrior I bonded with long ago." King looked at Raylan with surprise. "This is a serious claim." Raylan bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, I have returned to fulfill my promise." The king frowned, but gestured for silence. "We will investigate this." Meanwhile, word spread quickly among the court. Many were curious. Others were doubtful. Some even whispered that a human could never truly bond with a Thalorian princess. Saralan knew that some nobles opposed peace. They did not want a human to have any special place in Thal in the palace archives. Saralan and Raylan searched for more proof. They found old recordings, holograms from the past. One recording showed the ancient ceremony. A young Saralan and a strong man stood under the twin moons. They spoke words of promise and hope. Raylan's eyes filled with tears as he saw himself. "This is who I was," he said, "and who I must be again." But not all was peaceful. The group that wanted to end the peace talks grew bolder. They sent messages warning Saralan to stop believing in RY. A secret meeting was held in the shadows of the palace. The leader of the opposition, Lord Varric, spoke fiercely. "A human has no place in our royal bloodline," he said. "This peace will bring ruin." His followers nodded. Back in her chambers, Saralan felt the weight of her role. She wanted peace, but she also wanted to protect her people. Raylan sat beside her and said, "We must show them that our bond is stronger than fear." The next day, Saralan invited the Alien Council to a special meeting. She spoke with confidence. "The bond between Raylan and me is real. It is a symbol of hope for all our peoples." She called for a test, an ancient trial called the Starbond Trial. "The trial is not of strength or war," she explained. "It is a test of wisdom, heart, and unity." The council agreed, but warned that the trial would be difficult. Over. The following days, Raylan faced many challenges. First, he was asked to speak before the council. He told stories of Earth, its people, its hopes, and its dreams. His words were honest and filled with kindness. Next, he helped heal a Thalorian child who was sick. Using human medicine, he treated the child gently, earning smiles from the court. Finally, he was given a complex problem involving two alien clans. With patience and empathy, Raylan found a peaceful solution that pleased all. Sorellen watched proudly. Raylan was not just a warrior, he was a bridge between worlds. At night, they shared stories and memories. Pieces of their past life together. Returned slowly songs they once sang, promises whispered under the stars. One evening, Sorellen showed Raylan a secret recording she had found. It was their old bonding ceremony, clear and bright. "This proves everything," she said softly. Raylan smiled. Now the world will know the truth, but the final decision rested with one person, Elder Thaler, a man who had always disliked humans. At the trial's end, the council gathered to vote. Tension filled the room. The elder looked at Raylan. "Carefully, you have shown respect and kindness. But can a human truly carry the soul of a Thalorian prince?" Before he could speak, a small voice interrupted. It was a young Thalorian child, the same one Raylan had helped. "Please," the child said, "Raylan saved me. He is my friend." The room was silent. The elder looked down, then slowly nodded. He said, "The bond is true." Cheers filled the hall. Sorellen and Raylan smiled at each other. Their bond had been accepted. Outside, the stars shone brighter than ever. Their journey was far from over, but hope had won a great victory. Together, they would face the future as one. The great hall of Thalor buzzed with voices. The council chamber was filled with noble leaders from many worlds. They had gathered to hear the final words about the bond between Princess Sorellen and Commander Raylan. Sorellen stood tall in her shimmering silver dress. Raylan stood beside her, calm but alert. Both knew the future of their people depended on this moment. The elder Thaler had asked for one last test, not of strength or skill, but of heart and trust. Raylan was ready. He understood this trial was more than proof of love. It was proof that humans and Thalorians could work together. The trial began with a speech. Raylan stood before the council, the great crystal pillars shining behind him. His voice was steady. "I come from Earth, a planet of many people. We are different from you in many ways. But I believe what connects us is stronger than what divides us." He told stories of humans helping each other, of families and friendship. The council listened quietly next. Raylan was led to the healing chamber, where a young Thalorian child named Lyra waited. She had been sick for weeks. Doctors were unsure of her cure. Raylan knelt beside her. Using simple earth medicine and gentle hands, he helped her drink a warm liquid. Slowly, the child's eyes brightened. She smiled and reached out to hold his hand. Sorellen watched, her heart full. After the healing, the trial moved to a difficult challenge. Two alien clans had long fought over water rights on a distant planet. The council asked Raylan to find a peaceful solution. Raylan studied the problem carefully. He spoke with leaders from both clans, listening with respect. Then he suggested a new plan, sharing water through new technology and common rules. His plan was fair and thoughtful. The clans agreed. The council was amazed. Throughout the trial, Sorellen saw the true strength in Raylan, not in battle, but in kindness and wisdom. At night, in the quiet palace garden, Sorellen and Raylan shared memories. "I remember now," Raylan said softly. "The songs you sang to me, the way your hand felt in mine," Sorellen smiled. "And I remember your laughter. It was like music." They talked about their past and their hopes for the future. Their bond grew stronger. One day, Raylan presented the council with a secret recording, the ancient bonding ceremony. The hologram showed a young Sorellen and Raylan under the twin moons, promising their lives to each other. "This is proof that our bond is real," Sorellen told the council. Some nobles still whispered doubts. They feared change, but the evidence was clear. The elder Thaler, the most powerful man in the council, held the final vote. He looked at Raylan and then at Sorellen. Your bond has passed every test, he said slowly. But the true test is trust. Do you trust each other? Raylan took Sarelyn's hand. I do. Sarelyn smiled, and I trust him. The elder nodded. The bond is restored. Cheers filled the chamber. The people of Thaler saw a new future, one where humans and Thalorians stood together. Sarelyn and Raylan knew this was only the beginning. There would be more challenges, but they faced them as one. As the twin moons shone brightly, the princess whispered, "Together we can change the stars." Raylan squeezed her hand. "Together we will." The stars above twinkled, watching a new story unfold, a story of hope, trust, and the power of two worlds joined by love. The day of the great ceremony had arrived. The entire kingdom of Thaler was alive with excitement. Banners in blue and silver fluttered in the gentle breeze, and the streets were filled with people from many worlds. It was a day to remember, Princess. Sarelyn stood at the palace balcony, looking down at the crowd. Her heart was full of hope and a little fear. Today was the day her bond with Raylan would be made official before all the people. This bond was more than a promise. It was a symbol of peace between Thalorians and humans. Raylan stood beside her, dressed in the ceremonial robes of Thalor. He looked strong but calm, ready to face whatever came next. As they walked together into the great hall, the crowd grew silent, as all eyes were on them. The High King rose from his throne. His voice was strong and clear. Today we witness a new beginning, a union not just of two souls, but of two worlds. Sarelyn felt Raylan's hand in hers, steady and warm. The elder Thaler stepped forward. The star bond trial has been passed. The bond is true and unbreakable. The ceremony began. The royal priests lit the sacred fires. A soft light surrounded Sarelyn and Raylan. As they stood before the ancient altar, Sarelyn repeated the words of the ancient vow. "I promise to stand by you, in peace and in challenge." "To share my heart and soul," Raylan answered. "I promise. To protect you and our people, to walk beside you as one." The altar glowed with light, and the room filled with a gentle hum. The crowd watched in awe. Outside, the twin moons shone brightly, as if blessing the moment. After the ceremony, the people cheered. The bond was restored. The princess and the human warrior were now true mates, united in heart and purpose. In the days that followed, Sarelyn and Raylan became ambassadors of peace. They traveled together, meeting leaders from many worlds. Their story inspired hope. In trust, Sarelyn learned more about Earth, its people, and their strength. Raylan studied Thalorian culture and traditions with growing respect. One evening, under the twin moons, they stood in the palace garden. The glowing flowers lit their faces. Sarelyn smiled and said, "I thought I was marrying peace, but I found my heart again." Raylan smiled back. "You never lost it. You just needed someone to remind you." They looked up at the stars. Same stars that had watched over their first meeting, their bond, and now their future. The stars seemed to shine a little brighter that night. Their journey was only beginning. Together, they would build a future where different worlds could live. As one, the bond of the star bond was restored forever.